Welcome, welcome, welcome to Two Brothers and an Idea. I am. They call me Ferdinand, the bringer of balance, leader of many disciplines, and one of your hosts of Two Brothers and an Idea. And I'm here today with the big homie, Tetaun, my co-host. How you doing, brother?
Oh man, I'm doing what the topics say, man. I'm headed out to a university drop off. You know how it go. School has started. It's a great conversation, man. So I look forward to our guests coming up, and I'm gonna stick around as much as I can, man, while I'm on this 1.5 hour drive.
Well, I understand, man. You're out there being a father. Do the dad thing, man. Do it well. And you're right. Our topic today is focused on back to school preparation in all the different ways. So today we're going to be empowering the fathers and the mothers that are listening with knowledge on how to better understand what's going on in the education process, but also to better understand how to be prepared for the road ahead for your children. Some of the children are transitioning from eighth grade to high school. Others are transitioning from elementary to middle school. And then some of the children are transitioning into kindergarten for the first time. So, yesterday may have been the first time that some parents have sent their children off on the bus. But what I would like to do, we have a very special guest today. Brave New School's own Brian Egan. Let's bring him to the
Yeah,
stage.
let's bring it to the stage. Jeez, welcome, Brian. Welcome.
What's going on,
Hey, how
Brian?
you doing? How you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing
We're
fantastic,
doing
man.
fantastic,
I've
man.
been paying attention to what you've been
Paying
doing
attention to what you.
with. I think we got an echo on your end, Teton. Um, I've been watching what Brave New School is doing for a long time, man, and I'm highly, highly impressed. And we need more of these independent schools in all parts of the nation. So I really appreciate that you and your team are taking that charge.
Yeah, yeah. We are a Waldorf school, inspired Waldorf school. California right now to talk about like countrywide, educationally. Um, California has taken a major initiative in establishing Waldorf schools and different types of alternative education to branch out from what's already happening in the world. Um, so what Waldorf education is about, let me just start talking about it. We can talk about it together. So, Waldorf education is really about whole person learning. So, helping kids to um, establish themselves and see themselves as full people, to embody all the parts of themselves that are really, really great for their lives, great for everything that they're working with. Um, our school is founded on a democratic model that helps people to give the kids a chance to understand themselves and to grow into the fullness of what they can become, and to give them the space to be able to do that without having any other hindrances, like all the other things that we put on our field that mess us up. It's a very clear, spiritual, but not spiritual. It's not a religious teaching. It's about being a good person. It's about having that harmonic balance of yourself and teaching kids how to find that in themselves.
That's really important. I'm glad you brought that up. I have a Cassell's Latin to English dictionary over here, and I looked up the word at JUCO. Matter of fact, I'm going to do it now, and I want to read it I want to read the definition to everybody. Okay, because when you hear at JUCO, you might automatically start thinking education, right? But it's a little different. So at
Right.
JUCO, let's see, it's right here. Okay, at JUCO, the very first definition: to draw
Mhm.
out, to lead out. This is what we need to do with the children. We need to give them
Mhm.
opportunities and the avenues to draw out from within. For them to produce their seed is.
Yes, definitely. But then to give them that open space for them to be themselves, to be that. You know, we put too many limitations. Like my wife just shared something on our page, our Instagram page yesterday, and it was really about how when a child shows interest in something, if we over explain or give them the full explanation, like we're excited about it too, but we tell them all these things, it really kind of dampens their meaning. You know, like we want it to help inspire and encourage and be awesome. Um, but it loses that because we give them too much, and then they have a framework immediately that they probably really didn't even want. So it's about us pulling back the reins and letting kids be themselves.
Absolutely. I really appreciate that because it's it's a very similar concept to gardening. When
Mhm.
you're gardening, you cultivate the soil. You make sure that the pot, or if you're going to plant the plant in the ground, you make sure it's in a area that gets a lot of sunlight, gets plenty of airflow. You make sure that you water it, or you making sure that that you're collecting rainwater or something. You're doing something to make sure that it's watered. You got
Mhm.
a irrigation system that you set up, but you allow the plant to grow on its own. You don't go out there and be like,
Mhm.
all right, plant, give me 3 inches today. you know,
Right.
you allow that plant to grow in its capacity of how it grows. So I think that this is really important, and I think that's a super important piece when you start talking about back to school preparation, right? When I say back to school preparation, where does it take you?
Well, as a teacher, I've been teaching for over 20 some years, so it kind of puts me into a like, oh my gosh, we got to get our room together for the class. But it takes me back to that part of, what are we setting up? We're setting up the environment for our children. We're setting up the environment that they're going to learn in, that they're going to grow through. Um, Set and setting. What we hold as a container for them. Here, I'll like kind of give you a quick like look around the room real quick. We have all these materials, but open ended without there's not posters on the wall. We don't have like you have to be like this. There's a picture of mushrooms behind me. Okay, it's like a photo of like mushrooms. Okay, and so there's some frog puppets we made. But there's nothing there telling them you have to think this way, you have to memorize this. Here's your times tables chart. Here's your things. It's creating a space that's open for them to grow and experience life.
That's so important. When we think about back to school preparation as well, uh, food has got to be important. Obviously, physical fitness,
Mhm.
those things are important. For Brave New School, how are they tackling the challenges of nutrition?
That's a great segue into. I'll take you guys out to our garden. So here, walking through the hallway here. Uh,
Well, man, I really regret the fact that I can't come in and out and really engage. But man, this is really dope what you're doing.
yeah.
It looks to me is that, and I don't know if this is a question for later, but
Mhm.
how much have you all really incorporated parenting into the educational piece?
Oh, parenting is everything. The more that we engage our parents in what they're doing and they take ownership too, and they take on some of the pieces and components of what we're doing, the more that they can help their children grow into their fullness of themselves. The parents that are the first teacher. We know this. This isn't some out there thing we're just talking about. Our parents are our teachers, whether they want to be or not. So it's a matter of getting them involved to want to see the benefits giving to their children and to themselves. So I'm going to take you guys real quick into our little organic permaculture teaching garden that we have. We have apple trees lining the garden. All the apple trees. This has just started this year. Kind of walk you through the path here. Cantaloupe, and watermelon in this bed and some strawberries. And the kids helped make all of this. Another apple tree coming through our space. Yeah, strawberries down here, perennials that'll be back every year and just grow bigger and send out more. So this is teaching kids about how regenerative agriculture, like permaculture, is the way that we can be more in tune with life and show them that they can take that steps further in their life.
Man, that is really
Some
dope. Really
eucalyptus.
dope.
We got some eucalyptus right here. More apple. Here's a good one. Here's a good example. I like to talk about this guy. So this right here.
Looks like we may have lost Brian just for a second. Oh no, he's back.
Oh, he's
Can you
back.
hear me? So this plant right here is what quinoa is made from. You guys familiar with quinoa?
Wow, that is
That's
fantastic.
crazy.
Absolutely. I eat it multiple times a week.
Right. So this America, right?
Well, it looks like Brian may be having a little technical difficulties there, but it's amazing what we see here, and we need more schools out there to have gardens. Our children need to learn how to grow their own food. Like this is a major thing that I'm talking about on a regular basis. Uh, our children need to go to school, and then they need to learn how to do the things that they need to sustain life. So if our children feel like they may need a toilet, well, they need to learn plumbing. They need to learn how to make a toilet. They need to learn how to work that toilet. If they feel like they should eat, if children like food, well, they need to learn how to grow their food. If they feel like they have to have fish, they need to go learn how to fish. If they feel like they need to have meat, they need to learn how to hunt. Our children need to learn how to do the things that they need for life sustainment, almost like they were living on a homestead, but they're right here in any regular city in America. We need to empower our children like this. And this is what's happening with Brave New School. I really want to put some emphasis on what Brian Egan is doing with the Waldorf school. They're doing some amazing things, and our children need to be exposed to these types of educations.
Yeah.
Yeah, you cut out for a little bit, Brian.
Can you hear me?
A little more to tell us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Okay, so our garden, I'm just kind of taking you through the garden here. We have basil, tomatoes in the middle. They've grown really well. All of this was done really like minimal expense too, because have you ever heard of the website Chip Drop?
Chip Drop. I think
Drop.
that's the first I've heard of it.
Chipdrop.com. They will deliver wood chips and logs to you. So we use that to build a lot of the materials we had. So it didn't really take too much, and it's all locally sourced. It's all things here. We're using what's the natural environment, what's happening around us. Like I mentioned before, this plant that I put up in front of you, this is actually it's called lamb quarters. Are you familiar with lamb's quarters?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So lamb's quarters is it's the base for quinoa. So that's what they use. They use the seeds for quinoa, but the leaves of it actually are more nutritionally dense than kale, which is really cool. And it's a great way to kind of teach about nutrition to kids at the same time, because you see kale and you're like, and it's the lamb's quarters is a little bit more of a mild flavor than kale, so it's not as intense if that flavor is not their favorite, right? So when I worked at a school in Floyd, Virginia, we made in our organic teaching garden that we had there because it came up so easily, we made a lamb's quarter kind of like area where we just grew it, and we were going to make, have you ever heard of kale chips?
Absolutely.
to raw
Yeah, we
food,
heard of
right?
kale
So
chips.
we were going to make a group of a company for just teaching the kids entrepreneurial skills as well. We were making a company for lamb. We were going to call them lamb chips, which is kind of funny at the same time because they say like chips poop kind of thing, whatever, like cow chips they call them. So like lamb chips we were going to call them, but yeah. So that's one of the things we've done in the past, and getting the kids to know these things and understand these things in a natural, holistic way is all about one who Waldorf schools were patterned off of. And so Rudolf Steiner was one of the founders of anthroposophy, which is a new thought, metaphysical, higher level thinking that incorporates all aspects of self, just like what we do at the school. And so this is on the most basic level, it's just teaching kids how they connect to nature and how they connect to everything. And that's what this is really about, And that's what we're doing when we get back to school. We're getting back into that rhythm and teaching the kids how to find that rhythm in themselves.
That's amazing. I really appreciate you giving us a tour of the garden. It looks gorgeous out there, and I
Oh
love
yeah.
hearing that. So that the children did a lot of that work. So they're getting that firsthand knowledge of how to work with the soil, how to create life. While we got a second,
Mhm.
everybody out there, please love, comment, share. Really appreciate all of y'all for watching, and please show your love. Go on over to braveneweducation.org. Check out the website. Get in touch with these amazing professionals over there at Brave New School out there in Portsmouth. They're doing some amazing things there. And just so y'all know, they're located at 4811 West High Street, Portsmouth, Virginia, 23707. And I'm going to put the address up there on the screen as well. And the phone number is 757-822-8675. And obviously, y'all see the website up there. Brian, while I'm thinking about it, I want to move a little bit back to school preparation. Let's talk about some preparing the parents. So I have a document that was sent by a friend who works in the school system, and
Mhm.
I want to put it up on the screen. Let's take a look at this. All right, so this is a document from one of the school handbooks, and it focuses on what FERPA is. All right, are you familiar with FERPA?
FERPA? I'm not sure.
Okay, it's the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. Okay,
Okay.
and if you don't mind, I like to read it to you and everyone else out there.
Okay.
All right. Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, FERPA, Notice for Directory Information, HCS Policy JO. The Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, FERPA, federal law, requires that Hampton City Schools, with certain exceptions, obtain your written consent prior to the disclosure of personally identifiable information from your child's education records. However, Hampton City Schools may disclose appropriately designated directory information without written consent, unless you have advised the division to the contrary in accordance with division procedures. The primary purpose of directory information is to allow Hampton City Schools to include this type of information from your child's education records in certain school publications. Have you heard of this before?
Yeah, I get what you're saying now. That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay,
So
all
like
right.
yeah.
How does this federal law play a role with Brave New School?
What do you mean? Like
Do do
consent?
y'all do y'all have like consent forms that parents are able to sign to opt out if they'd like to?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, like we give disclosure forms about having children's like likenesses, pictures, any of those things. Like, so the parent has to agree to be okay with their child showing up on like our web pages or our social media, those kinds of things.
Absolutely. So let me
Yeah.
read the second paragraph to everyone. Directory information, which is important, that is generally not considered harmful or an invasion of privacy if released, can also be disclosed to outside organizations without a parent's prior written consent. Outside organizations include, but are not limited to, companies that manufacture class rings or publish yearbooks. In addition, two federal laws require local educational agencies, LEAs, receiving assistance under the Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1965, ESEA, to provide military recruiters, upon request, with three directory information categories: names, addresses, and telephone listings, unless parents have advised the LEA that they do not want their students' information disclosed without their prior written consent. I think that there's a lot of parents. I'm not saying that they're at Brave New School, but I think there's a lot of parents out there in the public school system that don't know anything about this. You know, they more than likely haven't read the handbook, but they signed the paper that said that they read it. And this part right here, I would imagine they'd be interested to opt out. I'm happy to hear that that Brave New School, you know, y'all have those forms available, and I would imagine y'all educate the parents at y'all's earliest convenience on those types of things.
Yeah, we do. That's interesting how they give the information to the recruiters to try to get people into the army. You know, like you get access to their information.
Sure.
That's it's kind of uncomfortable.
Absolutely. You know, and this is part of the reason why I wanted to bring this document onto the screen and talk to, you know, a teacher, you know, someone who's been doing it
Yeah.
for a long time. You know, seeing something like this, I would imagine it would bring a lot of concern to parents. You know, it's one thing to have the recruiter show up on career day and, you know, tell you a little bit about this, a little bit about that, and see if you're interested. But then it's a whole nother thing if the recruiter's like, hey, listen, I need that list of the 3,000 children you got in the school. All
Right.
the addresses, all the phone numbers.
Mhm.
I need mama and daddy's name. If you got uncle and auntie and grandma too, make sure it's up there.
The grades, all the things, if they had any behavior problems, we know everything about your child now. Yep.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. So these things are I think these are ways to prepare parents for back to school. I think that it's more than just I think that back to school is more than just let's go and get new clothes. You know, you need some Jordans or some boots or something. Maybe we bought you a new car. You're 16. Back to school, right? It's not these days. We're not even we're not even sending the children in the grocery store to get extra bags so that they can go ahead and wrap their books, right?
Hmm.
We're not even doing that anymore, you know. So back to school, we've got to level up since we don't have as parents, we don't have as many responsibilities maybe as the children of the past parents had. Maybe we do have as many responsibilities, but it seems like a lot of the responsibilities has been kind of like brought off of the parents. So how do we go ahead and shift that weight as a parent? You know, well, you read this handbook, you make sure you're prepared, you know, but you also have conversations with the teachers ahead of time, have a conversations with the administrators and the security ahead of time, get to know the community of your school that your child is going to be at, so that your child can be more effective. And on top of that, you can kind of have like your own internal agents inside of the school to be making sure that your child doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, I hear that.
What you think, Teton?
You know, I'm a little out of my element right now. I usually don't be on the internet in my car like I used to, but I think what I have observed as of now, I think it's um, a very noble thing to do. I think we need to see more of this in our communities where what I've observed is an integration of parenting principles and things that we should know as parents, we should know and understand. And I like how you're implementing some of these morals or perspectives on self-esteem and building character to understanding agriculture. All of these conversations that you have in your home with your children, and you don't have enough of these conversations in the educational cycle. So now to be able to take some of these things and just mash them together and I think you have a great opportunity to solicit volunteers. And one of the most compelling things that I observed was the garden. You know, a lot of the cities and local areas are doing community gardens, but to see a garden being managed by young people, and them learning the details or how things are to grow and how to treat the dirt and the soil and things like that, in
Hmm.
addition to those things that you've already planned for lessons. And so I think it's extraordinary, man. And I hope that Portsmouth continues to build upon this great work that you're doing here in your community. I really do.
Absolutely, absolutely. I really appreciate that you said that, Teton, because it sparks some things. And I want to show a lot of love out to Portsmouth. Hey, everybody out there, love, comment, share. Like, send this message to somebody that you love. Send this message to somebody that you're friends with, or that you want to uplift, because that's what these conversations are about. But what you said, Teton, automatically sparked what's going on in Portsmouth. It's a revolution going on out there. You got some very special brothers out there like Brian Egan, very special brothers out there like Edwin Street, and so many other brothers that are uplifting this part of Southeast Virginia. So I'm very happy to be in that circle with these guys. Brian, I want to go back to Brave New School just for a second, right? And
Sure.
then we'll come back to school preparation.
Yeah, no
Tell
worries.
me Tell me a little bit about how a Brave New School prepares children for that next level of life. They're older students. What's next for them?
Oh, like how they step into, so we're just opening up a 6 to 9 year old class this year, and the main focus around it is giving kids autonomy over their own learning. It's that's the biggest focus, is all learning, just like healing, all learning is self-instruction. We give kids things to learn, things to memorize, ways to do them. We play games with them. We do things like that. But really, the essence of it is them taking ownership of their own learning and their own work. I try to incorporate this. I also teach at IC Norcom High School in Portsmouth, and in the high school, we're doing teaching a world history class this year, and so we're doing an honors class. And so the honors kids, I said, I'm going to make you guys do these projects like I do at the school that I run. And the projects mean they're going to take ownership of what they create and how they create it and how it shows up for them. Self-direction is what we are, and if the more we give back kids' ability to make their own personal decisions, their own sovereignty, the more that they'll make decisions that align with who they are at a deep level. And so how do we do that? We do that by letting them choose, by having the democratic school model where the kids get to decide what we're learning today, what we're doing, where we're going, what kind of a project we're going to have when we work together and build it and do it. Yeah. So
That's amazing. That really creates avenues for higher level creativity. It also creates avenues for leadership, creates avenues for management. It creates many avenues for resiliency. So this is
yeah,
this is awesome what y'all have going on over there at
yeah,
over there at Brave New School.
yeah, and creativity as well, and leaving that door open for kids to really explore and find their world themselves. This year we opened up an 18-month to 3-year-old class that Edwin is one of our main teachers, and it's just beautiful to help hold that space for kids to really just explore without the limits that we put on them with society and with, like, even with culture, with all the things that we like enforce onto our children, to give them that moment of, like, to take a breath and just be like, wow, what am I without all those other things? What am I when I can just be me? And help kids see that and take ownership of that.
Exactly. Who am I? Right? Know thyself.
Mhm. Yeah.
Powerful.
Imagine,
One of
knowing
the
that at
things
6, right?
Well,
I said,
one of the things that Teton and our audience might not know about Brian is he is an accomplished musical artist, and he has a very unique style of creating sound and creating vibrational frequency.
Uh-oh.
Can you tell us a little bit about that and its connection to the children?
oh yeah, for sure. We've actually done a sound healing camp before. We called it Camp Serendipity, and the kids made sound healing instruments, and we would do meditations with them. And so sound, right? Sound is our vibration that we emit, right? And we can make music with it. We can make loud, boisterous sounds that make us feel uncomfortable. We can make calm, melodious sounds that make us feel relaxed. And showing kids how profoundly sound affects our life is a big key to help them understand themselves too. So I've been teaching sound healing and doing sound healing for over 20 years, and it all comes down to kids finding their own rhythm and their own kind of harmony within themselves, and that comes from us balancing our sounds and balancing our environment of sound. Like I'm standing out here, and you can probably hear all the cicadas in the background, right? They're finally catching up, right? We've been waiting for the cicadas to show up all summer, but now they are. So there's a lesson in itself. Talking to the kids about how bugs affect our environment by their sound they put into the atmosphere that we don't even notice. So sound healing is a big piece of all the work that I do, and helping kids to connect and find their own rhythm and find their own harmony. That's what this is about. Them finding harmony within themselves.
That's powerful. Brian, you've given us a lot of great information. We're really appreciative of what you and Brave New School is doing out there in Portsmouth, Virginia. If there's any ways in the future that we can be of assistance, that that we can shout out your platform, or we can get people to send a donation or something like that, please reach out to us, because we need to be supporting operations like what you have going on out there. This is super, super important. It's bigger than I know that this is big, but it might be bigger than what you realize. So keep it going, keep building on it. Hope you get more schools in the future, because our children need to learn what you're teaching.
Yeah. And our big plan is to be able to have this organization fund itself. And so that is based on, I when I started this, I wanted it to be kind of like the Toms, the shoes. And it's like for every shoe that you buy, it covers they create a shoe and they send it to somebody else in another country that needs it. I want this school to be where every kid that's paid for, a kid can come for free. It doesn't have to be something that's just limited to the people that can afford it. I think that's a big problem with private education, is that it's very exclusive instead of inclusive. And I feel like the more that we can make it inclusive to every person that needs it, the more that we can help everybody as a whole, instead of just a few that can afford it.
Absolutely. And like I said, however we can help, let us know. But Brian, we really appreciate you coming on the podcast today. I think that your words of wisdom are going to hit all four corners of the earth. So thank you very much. You got any last words to give to the people?
I don't know. What is it? Was it Plato or Socrates? Or no, was it? No. Hold on. I can't think it. You got to tell me. Physician, know thyself. That was kind of what you were saying at the beginning. The more that we can own and know ourselves. Was that Hippocrates? The Hippocratic Oath kind of thing?
It may have been Hippocrates. I do have a Hippocrates quote if you want to hear it.
Oh yeah, what do you got?
A physician is a fool who doesn't have a working knowledge of astrology. Hippocrates.
Good. Yeah, you have to know.
I'm paraphrasing. That's not a direct quote, but it's close. Matter of fact, I'm gonna give you the direct quote right now. Let me pull it up. I'm gonna give you the real one. All right, here it is right here. The man who is ignorant of the science of astrology deserves the name of fool rather than that of physician. Hippocrates.
That's great. And that's so perfect to what we do. It's about showing kids and showing families and everybody else that everything is connected. And that was Steiner's whole work with all the things that he did and what became the foundation of Waldorf schools. We don't teach things in isolation. We teach things cross culturally, cross discipline. So like math with science with social studies, science with English, all these things interlacing with one another. And the more we can show how astrology plays a factor, and even with the gardening, Rudolf Steiner's work was very much about planting and growing things based on the rhythm and cycles of the earth and the cosmos. So yeah, that was awesome.
Absolutely. That's
Thank
awesome.
you, sir.
Hey, well, hey, Brian, thank you again, and take care, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow,
Yeah, that's
that's
good stuff,
amazing.
man.
That's some real good stuff, man. Beautiful garden. Got the children out there building the garden, learning how to grow food. This is what they need to know. These children need to understand things like that, and they need to learn it at a really early age so that they can grow up in it slow. They don't have to grow up in it in a situation where it's like, oh, it's an emergency. All right, you got to grow food right now. You're going to run across a whole lot of challenges, and you're going to be able to do it, but you might not be able to do it as well as what you saw in a magazine or on a TV show or something like that. You
Right.
might need some time to grow into that.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. It was a good show, good information. Um, Portsmouth is blowing up, man. Shout out to them gentlemen out there, really creating some opportunities for the community, young people in education, man. Especially the agricultural piece. So I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, absolutely, man. When I think about back to school preparation, I think about what Brave New School is doing. Definitely, that's a big piece. But I also think about what we were looking at with FERPA. Making sure that the parents are properly prepared for what's going on, making sure that they understand safety, making sure that they understand primary and secondary routes for their children, just in case there's any kind of a problem. Making sure that they're talking to their children and properly training them for if they got to deal with bullies and things of that nature. We may not have as much of that these days as it was back in the 90s or the early 2000s, but it still exists. So there's so many different avenues. Yes, get your children some new shoes, get them some new clothes, these types of things. But make sure you sit down and spend some time with your child, and part of your back to school preparation should be, hey, little Timmy, hey, little Timmy, I love you, right? That should be part of your preparation to make sure your child is walking out the door with love. Making sure they're walking into that school with love and compassion. Making sure that child has had the proper amount of sleep. These are some important things. There's a lot of stress going on out in the world right now, but the people who are sleeping properly, they might not have as much. So these are things to just keep in the back of y'all minds for all the parents that are listening to the podcast today on back to school preparation. Hey, so Tetaun, you got some ways that you have went about preparing your children for school?
Man, I'm still in school, man. What we talking about? Back to school to me don't sound like children, it sound like adulting. Um, from running kids to where they got to go, to spending money on the things that they need, to preparing them mentally and emotionally and physically, having to transition from all the activity during the summertime. So I think that it's a joint effort, and you know, just learning each and every day that things are not always going to be the same. And sometimes when you're moving kids and preparing for school, you have to be able to adapt to different things that do happen. So it's a reminder, I think. So I'm looking forward to it.
I can dig that, man. Uh, it's definitely different for everybody. Each of us has our own way of preparing our children to go back to school. I think for me, uh, this year in particular, it was expensive. It was really expensive. I'm homeschooling my children, so I had to buy books, I had to buy notebooks, had to buy the different tools that they would need for the lessons that they was learning. Geometry sets and other types of things. And when you're homeschooling, you got to know. exactly what you need for your children to be prepared as far as like their books and the different tools that they need, pencils and pens and rulers and all of this. Well, some of it I had to figure out as I went, right? So I would imagine some of the homeschool parents out there, they have some of these challenges, unless they've been homeschooling for a lot of years, so they know exactly what to do. But you know, all y'all parents out there, just be encouraged.
Oh
Make sure
yeah.
you understand that your children are going to do better in school based on the amount of encouragement that you give. Now you're going to have that Michael Jordan, that one in 100,000, that one in a million type of child that's a student where you don't got to give them no encouragement, no guidance, no nothing. A pluses in everything. All 4 years, 4.0, they just have that type of mentality. But most of the children, they need a little bit of encouragement. Hey, little Timmy, I appreciate that 95 you got on the science quiz. Oh, I really like that paper that you wrote. You read my paper? Yeah, I read the paper. Yeah, you did really good. I think you could add some commas and some periods, but you did good on the paper, right? And this type of encouragement helps children to know that they're not in this alone. It might be their journey to take alone, but if they're feeling like they have support along the way, we're more than likely to see better performance out of them.
Yeah, man. You just taught a whole little lesson there, sir. Um, little Timmy. Let me see what my takebacks are in this conversation. You homeschool your little ones. You got little Jimmy Neutrons that are very intelligent, very bright young people, man. So I guess you're setting the standard. So you can stand firm, 10 toes down, practicing what you are preaching. So I think it's encouraging. Kids are resilient, and but I think they're even more greater when they are looking to their left or their right, or looking up under them or above them to see that someone, i.e., a parent or a guardian, loves and supports them, and are coaching and celebrating them along their way. Um, Sometimes we have to learn that the best thing to do is to observe. Saying less can be a benefit, because you have to remember we were children one time and we were young people and we made some of the most. Let me just speak for me. I've done some dumb shit. I didn't even say that on the internet.
I would imagine
But
that we
but
we
listen,
all have.
I have done some stuff I have no business doing when I was a kid, and I probably drove my parents insane. And so I'm constantly reminded when I'm dealing with my children abroad and my babies here in Dallas and Virginia. It's like I got to remind myself, hey man, remember when you know what I mean, when you didn't take your books and forward your father's signature on your progress report. So it's always great to grow and understand that children need grace and we need to grow with them and love them and appreciate them, because they're little human beings growing to be full grown adults at some point in their life, and they're not robots or machines.
Yeah, that's a fact, man. And sometimes that's the challenge, is understanding those things. And sometimes our emotions get in the way, or our own desires get in the way, and we may lose sight of what things are. But that's the beauty of Two Brothers in an Idea, And I want to thank everybody who comes out and they listen, and they have feedback, because Two Brothers and an Idea is going to be one of those catalysts of the turnaround of the home, of how the family operates, bringing man and woman together with child as that trinity that it always has been, but maybe it was forgotten. Maybe it was a little confused for a little while, but it will come back to its throne.
Boy, you sound like the latest voiceover for the new Matrix 10.
Morpheus.
More for us.
Well, hey, so thank y'all again for everybody who came out. Like we have a great time on Two Brothers and an Idea. Tetaun and I, we've been carving this time out of our schedule now for weeks, and I can only speak for me, but it's been very fulfilling. It's been a blessing to have these conversations, because these are the conversations that most of the time the brothers, they just don't want to have, even though they want to have it. So there's always this fight within each of the brothers, and they don't really realize it's because they're not expressing themselves, right? This is all Two Brothers in an Idea is, because we're not trying to get millions of views every episode. If we could get that, great. But all we're trying to do is take the first step on behalf of men everywhere. All we're doing is operating in leadership the way it's supposed to be operated in. Well, what is that? Demonstration, right? That's what we're doing here. So I want to thank everybody again. And T-Time, you got some final remarks?
No. I mean, listen to your last statement. Boy, we've taken some blows, man. This is training. You talking about practice? Practice. This is what makes us better. I mean, a lot of the things that we talk about, I would just speak for me again. I'm experiencing, you know, and it takes a lot to get up every day and every moment to understand that, your worst days are behind you, and you're constantly growing and finding ways to be better. And so it's the effort. And I always to tell my kids, how bad do you want it? I'm not here to quit. I'm here to grow, keep fighting, and to duplicate the efforts and pass some of these things that we've learned and learn to develop as men in conversations to other men. You're right. We have to learn to express ourselves. We have to update our data and learn how to communicate in the most effective way, even when you know it's not permitted. So, yeah, bro, I appreciate you too, man. Health is wealth, right?
Big facts, and that's what I want to leave everybody with. Back to school preparation, mothers and fathers, please, please, please. Mothers and fathers, please, please, please. Mothers and fathers, please, please, please. When you walk in these grocery stores, when you walk in your school and you go to these vending machines, when you go into the cafeteria, if you have any packaged food that you're about to hand to your child, if you're about to buy it out the grocery store, please take the time to look at the nutrition facts label. Look at what it says up there, right? Learn how to read that thing. It's literally in code. Very specific lines mean very specific things. Certain sizes mean certain things. Like there's the nutrition facts label, there's a science to reading that thing. But then the other part that's even more important that I want each and every one of y'all to read on a regular basis is the ingredients list. This is super, super important. You go in that grocery store, you pick up anything, read that ingredients list. If it says under the ingredients list, bioengineered food, put it back on the shelf. Don't buy that. Now, on the ingredients list, though, right above where it might say bioengineered food, on the ingredients list, the very first three things that it says on the ingredients list is always the top three things that, as far as like quantity inside of that package. Okay. So if one of those three, or if two of those three say sugar or high fructose corn syrup or fructose corn syrup, put it back on the shelf. Don't buy it. Okay. This is one of the ways that we prepare for our children to go back to school. Because if we want our children to learn effectively, this is what we got to really, really think about. If we want our children to learn effectively, we've got to help them feed their brain. They need to eat food that helps their brain develop. Okay. And it's not poison. Poison food is not going to help your child's brain develop. It's going to help it go in the opposite direction. Okay. And most of the time, what I can almost guarantee you is poison when you look at these ingredients lists is words that have like 17 letters and almost no vowels. If you are looking at that word and you're like, man, you know what? I need to Google this, but I don't even feel like typing this into Google. Put it back on the shelf. and don't buy it. Okay? So I'm leaving y'all with that. Y'all be blessed and expose your gift.